they don't really deserve any respect. But at the same time, that's the system we're dealing with. But you have to realize it's a for-profit industry.
Right. It's not what we were.
No, we have been sold a bag of goods.
Yep. Yep. And I think that's definitely what I want to hear from you too. And your story's a little bit different, but it's the same, but it's different, you know. And what are the, you know, how did you feel going through it? And you're still in it.
Yeah.
You know,
and I try to, I try not to focus too much on my particular story. Although a lot of people, you know, when some people will say your story is different, but really it's not. You know, it's really not. I don't know if Jeff told y'all, see, he came to my court hearing, one of them.
I didn't know that until we talked to Jeff on the phone, I think. Yeah.
Did you tell him?
Go ahead. You can probably tell me better.
So Jeff, I asked Jeff to come to a recusal hearing. This was pre-COVID, because now they're doing Zoom. Well, Jeff, it was lovely. So Jeff, I recused my judge, and then I recused the next judge. And so in order to do that, you have to notify the Supreme Court of Texas, and they give you another judge. Now the reality is, Jeff and I, we show up, and we go up there, and the judge that I had recused, his door is right there, and the judge I'm going to see is right there. You know, they can probably, I mean, this is, you realize what a
this is.
Yeah, it's all pomp and circumstance, smoke mirrors. So we go in, and I had my little skit ready.
Yeah.
So I sit down at the table, and then the opposing counsel's there, and it's just the three of us, the bailiff and the judge and the court reporter.
That's when I took the camera, and I actually made a request of it.
Yeah, and so Jeff says, you know, he had actually requested in paper to record
Videotape.
like ahead of time you.
I submitted it in court.
And so even though Jeff is not party to the court case, that's considered ex parte communication, because he was directly communicating with the court reporter. So they notify us. We show up the next day, I think it was, and we go in, and the judge says, well, I got to get this out of the way. You know, this Jeffrey Morgan guy wants the videotape. Well, part of my skit was to press the issue of wanting this videotape.
Yeah.
And so I said, look, no offense, Mr. Court Reporter. However, we know that y'all lie, and y'all change the transcripts. And so for my own protection, I requested Jeffrey Morgan videotape this.
Yep.
And denied. And I said, well, I object. And so I'm objecting to the judge's thing. And I said, well, because then he asked the opposing counsel, do you object? I object. I said, well, I object to her objecting because she doesn't even have a client here. She's an officer of the court. And so this goes on, and he's banging his gavel, and he's upset. And so I said, well, fine. If you're not going to let Jeffrey videotape, I ask that this be, we reconvene to a time when I can bring my own independent court reporter for my own protection. No offense, Mr. Court Reporter, but I know how this stuff goes. And so he says, no, we're going to continue on. I said, okay, all right, well, he wanted to shut it down right there. I said, no, all right, hold on. I'll proceed. I want to call my first witness.
Jeffrey Morgan.
No. Well, I had sent like 4 or 5 pages of every legislator, my original judge, David Evans, the previous judge.
None of them are there.
Nobody's there. I said, well, I got to be able to call my witnesses. And he said, oh, that was a ridiculous witness list. And I said, well, and I don't know, it kind of started falling apart at that point. And so, and then, so finally, as it's falling apart, the judge flees the bench. He says, this court case is over. He slams the gavel. I said, I object. I object. And as he's running out I mean, that's what we call fleeing the bench. You know, he's abandoned ship. He's captain of this admiralty court that's taking place. He flees the bench. He's abandoned ship. And then I'm speaking to the court reporter, and actually he kept, had I realized what was that he was going to continue to
Type away,
I would have been a little more prepared and said, hey, the judge has fled the bench, you know, and now I recuse him or whatever. So, but we end up doing that. So we already had another recusal prepared because this is just, we all know how the system works. And within 10 minutes, we had it filed. So it was actually file stamped prior to him denying the recusal.
But the funny thing was is that, you know, he was getting tired of Brandon saying I object and everything. And he said, do you want to go home tonight?
And it caught me off guard. That's what happened.
Yeah.
That was the catch. Is he said, Mr. Johnson. I said, yes, sir. And he says, where do you live? Oh, I said, I live in Mineral Wells. And that's not what you say. If a judge asks you where you live, I live in my body. And but I wasn't that far along in my study. So I said, okay. He says, and he's got these beady eyes looking over these spectacles. He said, you want to go home tonight? And at that moment, I thought,
yeah, that was a threat.
I took it as a threat.
It was a threat.
But at that point, he's still the judge. And the first thing that comes to my mind, are you threatening me? But that's confrontational. You're bringing controversy to the court. And so I thought, and it probably wasn't 5 seconds. And at that moment, because up until then, I was boom, boom. I was hammering back. The opposing counsel never even had anything to say.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
She never, the only thing she said was she objected to Jeff. But once he caught that break, where I was silent, because I was like, I don't know what to say to this. And he bounced.
Wow.